An early Shabbat Shalom from Congregation Bet Tefillah here in Scottsdale, Arizona. So friends, you may have heard of the rabbi, the priest, and the imam that got together, and the question was, what type of eulogy did they want to have at their own funeral? The priest begins and says, well, I would want people to remember me for my goodness, for how good and kind I was to human beings and to society altogether. The imam says, well, I would like to be remembered for the connection I had with God himself and how pious I was, how devoted I was to God in the heavens. The rabbi says, well, my eulogy, I would want people to look at my casket, look deep inside and say, oh, he's moving, he's still alive. That's the fight for life that has defined Jewish history. But it reminds me yet of a different verse in this week's portion of Pinchas. There is a forward verse that has many mysteries attached to it. The forward verse is Uvnei Korach lo metu, which means the children of Korach did not die. What is this speaking about? It's speaking about the rebellious act of Korach and the assembly of men that he had, including his own children, his own 3 children, who rebelled against Moses and Aaron, saying, hey, it's not fair that you are the leaders, Aaron, that you are the priest, and your children are the priest. We too should be priests. The entire congregation is holy. Everyone deserves a role of a leader, a role of a priest. What was the punishment? As you may recall, the punishment was that the ground on which they were standing opened up and it swallowed all of them in, turning that ground into their mass grave. The children of Korach, Asir, Elkanah, and Aviasaph, were also swallowed by the ground. Yet in this week's portion of Pinchas, it says that they did not die. Uvnei Korach lo metu. What does this mean? They died. Everyone witnessed their death. They were swallowed by the ground. And the commentaries explain that no, they were swallowed by the ground, by makom nitbatzer lahem begeinom, that a place was saved for them in hell, where they composed and sang songs. What does this mean? And it doesn't answer the question. If the verse says that they died, so they ended up in hell and sang songs. But they still died. So what is this referring to? But what this really means, and what the Midrash and the sages here are teaching us, is that yes, those 3 children of Korach may have technically died, but their spirit did not die. Their spirit wanted to connect to God. They had realized their mistake, in fact, just before they were swallowed by the ground, and they wanted to reconnect. They died with that spirit. And that spirit was kept alive even in their grave. Even when they ended up in hell, they said, still, we want to be connected. The ground may have killed a body, but it did not kill a soul. And here, even in hell, we will sing songs for God. What a beautiful image, what a beautiful commentary, what a beautiful lesson. A lesson that is so apropos to our day and age. Because yes, I know many of us feel as if we too are swallowed by the grounds of this COVID-19. We are swallowed by so many troubles and challenges. But the children of Korach say to us, yes, those challenges may affect our body, our external self. But that spirit, that can never die. Uvnei Korach lo metu. Their spirit did not die, and so our spirit too can never die. Even as we are sitting in our own hell, or what we may seem as hell, we cannot stop connecting. We cannot stop singing. We cannot stop believing in the God, in that peace of heaven within the hell, in that light within the darkness, in that hope within the despair. Friends, I'm reminded of that great Hasidic story, one of my favorites, about Zusha and Elimelech, the 2 Hasidic brothers, who were thrown into a jail just for being Jewish. And in that jail, they joined some 50 inmates in just one room. And that room also had a bucket in the middle of the room that served as the toilet for those inmates. As soon as they were thrown into this room, Zusha began to cry. Elimelech says, "What, Zusha? You crying? You that always has a smile and a sense of optimism, you crying?" Zusha says, "Well, I'm crying not because I'm broken. I'm always strong. I'm always know how to sing songs even in hell. But I'm crying because this will be the first time in my life that I will not be able to pray." Elimelech says, "Why won't you be able to pray?" Zusha says, "Well, that's because Jewish law tells us that in a place that stinks, like this place right now that has a bucket that stinks and filling this room with a terrible odor, in a place like that, we're not allowed to pray. And it will be the first time I won't be able to pray, so I'm crying." Elimelech says to Zusha, one second. Who teaches you? Who told you to pray? God. Why do you pray? To connect to God. Well, the same God that tells you to pray is also the God that is telling you not to pray in a place that's filthy. So you're connecting to God by not praying. So you still remain connected. So you don't have to cry. Zusha says to his brother, "You know what? You're right. Sometimes you connect to God through prayer. And in situations like that, you connect to God by not praying." So I'm still connected. Feeling that connection, Zusha began to sing. His brother sang with him. Soon enough they danced, and soon enough they contagied the whole room with that dance, and the 50 inmates erupted in song and in dance thanks to these two Hasidic brothers. The warden, listening to this commotion from his office, immediately came down, bursted into the room and said, "What's happening here? What are you guys doing dancing in prison?" And they say to him, "Well, it's because of those two Hasidic brothers that they said that they had an enhanced connection with God thanks to this bucket." So the warden immediately goes to the middle of the room, takes the bucket and throws it out the window. He says, "I hope now you calm down," and he leaves the room. Elimelech says to Zusha, "The bucket is not here. Now you can pray." But friends, this beautiful Hasidic story teaches us of how, yes, sometimes we may be in a place filled with buckets. We may have been swallowed by some spiritual ground. But we cannot lose a sense of optimism. We cannot lose our joy. We cannot lose our spirit. We cannot lose our conviction and determination. Uvnei Korach lo metu. If those children of Korach did not die, their spirit did not die, even more so can our spirit not die. Friends, what song did they compose in hell? Rashi, the foremost French commentary, teaches us that they composed Psalm 42 of the book of Psalms, authored by King David. Psalm 42, what is it about? It's about this tremendous thirst of a soul that is alive, of a soul that can never be squashed by any ground, by any trouble of life. How does that soul express itself in Psalm 42? In the following verse, again, sung by the children of Korach in hell. What verse? Ke'ayal ta'arog al afike mayim, ken nafshi ta'arog elecha Elohim. Like a deer that is standing on the shores of water, so thirsty, about to drink, knowing that it can quench its thirst with that water, so too is our soul standing on the verge of divinity. Even if we may feel like we're in hell, we're on the verge of divinity. That soul is thirsty. All it needs to do is connect. Bow down. Drink that water like the deer bows down to drink its waters. And if we can find that spirit that propels us to move forward, to take yet another mitzvah upon ourselves, to take the direction that the soul so desires to take, and to quench its thirst with the waters of God, with the joy and the happiness that God provides, then we too will satisfy our soul and find song even within the hellish moments of life. Friends, I know this COVID-19 era has been particularly challenging for so many of us. This COVID-19 era has swallowed many of us into all sorts of uncertainties, into a world of unknown. It swallowed us into its grounds. But let's learn from the children of Korach, Asir, Elkanah, and Aviasaph. Uvnei Korach lo metu. They may have been swallowed by those grounds, but their spirit, as mentioned, never die. Let our spirit never die. We may face hell, but let's continue to sing together and dance together, connect together, and then hell will be turned into heaven, darkness into light, sorrow into redemption. May it happen speedily. Amen ve'amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei